working a little bit.
10 to 15 minutes. 10 to 15 minute charging stops means plugging in your car, going away to go to the bathroom, stretch your legs, and then coming back to your car with it ready to go. This takes half an hour, so I have to wait on it. Now, it's worth noting that the 2024 Polestar 2 refresh comes with a new battery and a higher peak charging speed of 205 kilowatts, which is nice. But U.S. market dual motor cars are not getting that new battery, so it's going to be 150 kilowatts for a while. If I had to change anything about this car, it would be to have faster range charging ability, and I really wish it had the Pilot package. I ordered this car without the Pilot package because of availability reasons. I couldn't find a car with all three packages, so I had to pick two of the three, and the one I decided to go without is the Pilot package. I really wish it had the Pilot package. This is a $62,000 car with no adaptive cruise, active lane centering, or blind spot monitoring, and that's very silly. The Pilot package should be standard. Cost of ownership.
So I gotta do this real quick. Yay, fireworks.
I spent about $130.
I'm gonna finish this in a second.
Well, because I'm an idiot. And cost of electricity. This is the fun one. So my electricity cost is 8 cents a kilowatt hour averaged out throughout the year. And assuming 2.5.
So yeah, I'm gonna get off my phone in a minute, guys, and get off my VR app and get back on the computer and do some work now, starting now. So I'm gonna get off, back to my phone. I mean, go to YouTube now. Get it off.
To put that into perspective, that's about 3 cents a mile to run it. To put that in perspective, it would cost me a Prius at the current price of gas, assuming 50 miles per gallon, $2,400 in gasoline, twice as much. And the Prius doesn't have almost 500 horsepower. Would I buy this again? Well, the short answer is yes, but now that would be a significantly harder decision to make, because when I bought this last year, this and a Model 3 Performance were roughly the same price. The Model 3 was a little bit cheaper, but not a huge amount cheaper, and this qualified for the $7,500 EV tax credit that a Model 3 did not, and came with 2 free years of charging at Electrify America. Now, though, things have flipped. This doesn't qualify for the EV tax credit anymore. The Model 3, at the time of this recording, now does. And on top of that, since then, Polestar has slightly raised their prices, and Tesla has significantly cut their prices. So now, the gap between a Model 3 Performance and an equivalently spec Polestar 2 is $12,500. And if you can get the tax credit, that's an extra $7,500 on top of that, making the gap $20,000. And that's $20,000 more for a car that is objectively slower, heavier.
I hear you, baby.
Efficient, much shorter range.
I hear ya.
Slower charging. Doesn't have access to Tesla's supercharger network at the moment. Doesn't have as many service centers. The only thing this has going for it is that it's not a Tesla and it's prettier. Is it $20,000 prettier? I mean, I think so, but that's not a logical decision to make. You would have to really, really not want a Tesla to buy this now. I feel bad for Polestar. To end this video, I have a very privileged complaint. I bought a new car and it depreciated more than I would like. Last year when I bought this car, the market was quite different. There were used Polestars available, but they didn't make any sense to buy because the pricing of the used ones was just barely below the new ones, and they didn't come with the EV tax credit. It's a lot different now. These don't qualify for the EV tax credit at all because they're built in China, and the used market is...
I can go over this later.
So I've been thinking about...
I've been working over chapter 4, episode 4 a little bit.
Been halted because this car that I bought last year for $62,500 is now worth maybe $38,000.
I'm gonna get puppy.
And I still owe $46,000 on it. So to sell this car, I'd have to pay $8,000. This makes me displeased. I didn't have any plans of selling this anytime soon, but now I feel like I can't. Like I said, very privileged first world complaint. Anyway, thanks for watching. Here's some juxtaposition. That's an EV. That's a coal barge. You know, I say juxtaposition, but unfortunately 75% of Missouri's electrical mix is still coal. So there goes power floating by.
your lighting needs. Contact us today.
Hands down, the most asked question I get is how fast can you actually take off the Paragon bed cover? Typically, it takes around 30 seconds to fully take down your bed cover and put it inside your cab. Cool thing about this feature is it allows you to take multiple kayaks, all your big accessories, while having a bed cover. Most bed covers are big and bulky. My favorite feature of the Paragon bed cover is super sleek, and this is the limited version, which is super aggressive and has a matte-like finish. All in all, the Paragon Limited HD has been a game changer.
It doesn't matter how long I'm for. I don't care.
And it's the ultimate bed cover.
The Snyder.
I've been on my Polestar 2 for 2 whole years. Minus a month, and I've driven it 77,000 miles. It's almost like I like to drive it. Last year, for the 1-year Polestar update, I told you about the depreciation situation and how dire it was. Well, in Habit Report this year, things have improved. And, unrelated, I've discovered this new coping mechanism called denial. You should try it sometime. I paid $62,500 for it new, and now it's worth
Nothing.
With Polestar 2, 77,000 miles. Go through options. It has the Performance Pack and the Plus Pack, but it doesn't have the Pilot Pack. Hit go, and the trade-in value is $18,000. That's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. That's only $50 depreciation per day. It could be worse. Could be a lot worse.
So you lost a lot of money, Robert.
I only know double what it's worth. Could be triple. It's fine. It's good. It's a good thing, actually. It's a good thing. I'm happy it's worthless.
You're burning all that money.
Because this video is comprised mostly of complaints, I wanted to let you know right off the bat that I love this car. It's fast, it's comfortable, it handles extremely well, and the software is okay.
No. Here we go.
This thing hustles. I love to bomb around in it everywhere. Back roads and city streets. It's just fun to drive everywhere, which is part of the reason why I've racked up so many miles. So 100% would buy again. Thanks for watching. No, that's later in the video. I'll start off with the thing a lot of people are worried about when it comes to high mileage EVs, and that's battery health. First of all, you cannot tell anything about battery state of health from range or estimated range. It's too inaccurate. There's too many variables involved. Don't even be tempted to guesstimate battery health based on range or estimated range. So how do you tell battery health then? Well, one way is to ask the car. Most, if not all, modern EVs track battery health internally. These metrics can be a bit off, but they're a far more accurate approximation than any range test would be. I got a third-party diagnostic software for Volvos and Polestars called Orbit that reported to me, among other things, the battery state of health percentage as reported by the car. But before I tell you what that number was, just a quick word on how battery degradation works. Another qualifier, just get to the number. No, information is important. Battery degradation is not linear. You get a big hit of degradation right at the beginning, whether that's the first year of ownership or first several thousand miles, I don't know, and then it tapers off from there. Here's a graph I made up. So if you have 10% degradation at 50,000 miles, which would be kind of high, by the way, that doesn't mean you'll have 20% degradation at 100,000 miles. It'll probably be more like 11 or 12% degradation. And now that you know that, at 77 kilomiles, my battery state of health, as reported by the car, is at 91.5%. It's about where I expected to be. So my 71 kilowatt hours battery pack is now more like 71.4 kilowatt hours gross. I expected 100,000 miles, albeit about 90% state of health. We'll see if I'm right. Changing direction completely, I'm on my third set of tires now. The factory set were Continentals. They were great, but they didn't last an especially long time. And by not especially long, I mean they hardly lasted at all. So I upgraded them. I got Pirellis because they were supposed to last a lot longer, which they did. But I hated everything else about them. Their wet weather performance was terrible. Their dry weather performance was terrible, and they were noisy. I hated them a lot. So when I got a puncture in one of the tires, rather than just patch the tire and move on, I took that as an opportunity to upgrade to a set of tires that I didn't hate. I went back to Continentals. These are DWS-06s, and I love them. Probably won't last all that long, but I don't care. You don't want something you hate to last a really long time. That's just more time you're stuck with. Just coincidentally, how I feel about the Toyota Corolla. In last year's update, I told you about the time that I got distracted and absolutely curb stomped the right front wheel, and how I sent my car off to my nearest Polestar service center for a wheel alignment and to replace the warped rotor. And I also told you how I thought this wheel might be bent because of some vibrations in the front axle and because that rotor was warped again. Well, guess what? I was right. The wheel was indeed bent, as was the wheel hub and the brake rotor. So I sent it off to the Polestar service center to have those things replaced, which was not cheap. So now on this corner, I'm on my second wheel and my third brake rotor because I'm an idiot. Another issue I've had that you could argue is my fault, but I would say that it's not my fault, is for a period the airbag light came on. I took this autocrossing at some point last year, and on the first corner of the first run, I dove onto the brakes and the airbag light came on, indicating that there was something wrong with the airbags somewhere. And it stayed on for about 10,000 miles. And so did I fix it? No, I was too lazy to take it to the service center, but it didn't matter because somewhere in Nashville, I hit a really big pothole, and when I hit that pothole, the airbag light went back off again. And it hasn't come back on since, and this was like 6 months ago. So thank you, terrible roads of Nashville, and that's all the issues I've had since last year's update. Okay, I've had 2 other issues since last year's update, but they're not my fault. Okay, one of them might be my fault. There's a subtle but annoying grumbling, clicking sound coming from the right rear CV shaft at low speed under regen. And there's a really annoying popping sound coming from somewhere in the right front suspension. But that's the one that might be my fault because that's the corner that I absolutely smacked into a curb. Both of these noises started happening before the car's warranty ended at 50,000 miles, so naturally I had it trucked off to the Polestar Service Center for them to have a look at it. Unfortunately, they said, "We don't hear anything," and sent it back. And now it's out of warranty. So I guess I just deal with the noises now. They don't seem to be a symptom of a bigger issue, so I think it's fine. I have had this wheel off to look at suspension. I can't tell where the noise is coming from, and nothing looks or feels off, so I guess my car just makes 2 noises now. Thankfully, the obnoxious squeak coming from somewhere in the rear suspension that I mentioned in last year's update was fixed by the service center. So that's nice. That sound was really annoying. As a reminder, my nearest Polestar service center is over 400 miles away in Columbus, Ohio. Or at least it was until Polestar built a new service center in Franklin, Tennessee, but that's still 250 miles away. While it was under warranty, Polestar would pay to have my car shipped out to the service center for warranty-related issues. But now that it's out of warranty, it's not going back to the service center unless I absolutely have to take it. Please don't do breaky things. Speaking of the warranty, the battery is still under warranty and will be until I hit 100,000 miles, which at my current rate will happen by the end of the year. I'll report back once I hit 100,000 miles, unless I forget. This car has been relatively trouble-free, which I want to act surprised by, but I really fully expected it to be trouble-free. I mean, heck, if I expected it to have troubles all the time, I wouldn't have bought it, because when I bought it, my nearest Polestar service center wasn't in Columbus, Ohio. It was even further away in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This video is factored by sponsors. Sponsored by Factor. Ready-to-heat meals delivered straight to your door. Factor meals are delivered straight to your door in a chilled box. When you're hungry, just take your meal. In my case, chicken cacciatore, which is incredibly good. Puncture the film to vent it, pop it in the microwave for 2 minutes, and enjoy your meal. These are really good. Every week you have 35 meal options to choose from, including popular options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and protein plus. Factor meals are great for when I'm on the go or don't have time to go out and get food or cook myself, or really any other time. They're just great meals. Factor continues to make restaurant quality meals come out of a microwave, and it's like magic. This chicken cacciatore is amazing. I recommend everyone try Factor, and that's not just because they're paying me to make this ad. Factor is really good. So if you want to try it, go to Factor75.com and use code AgingWheels50 at checkout for 50% off your first box and 20% off your next box. Again, that's Factor75.com and use code AgingWheels50 for 50% off your first box and 20% off your next box. You won't regret it. It's really good. And because it's an EV, the only maintenance has really been tire replacement. Once it hits 100,000 miles, I'll probably check the coolant.
Sony is
check and flush the gearbox oil if it calls for that.
No, it sucks.
These aren't maintenance free, but they sure are close to it. I'm inviting problems at this point, aren't I?
That
Please,
sucks.
Please.
Come on, Sony, don't do what Nintendo does.
car have been and continue to be efficiency.
Sounds like PlayStation is going to be doing something that Nintendo does.
150 kilowatts peak.
They're going to be killing the PlayStation.
Isn't the worst thing-
Sony is going to be killing the PlayStation, it looks like. So that's going to suck.
3.2 miles per kilowatt hour on a good day. I'm talking like
I just looked it up on my phone. It looks like Sony might be killing the PlayStation.
typical efficiency for this
So that's going to suck because the PlayStation's been around for what now? Over 30 years? And it's kind of sad that PlayStation is going to be going away. If that rumor is true, we are going to have some problems. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, if that happens, that's going to be sad because the PlayStation's been around for what? Since the 90s? I mean, PlayStation's been around for such a long time. That's sad. The PlayStation is going away. Because the PlayStation's been around for over 20 years. And PlayStation's been around for what, 30 years? And Sony's going to get rid of it? I'm an Xbox person, okay? I prefer the Xbox. Someone needs to stop talking about bullshit no one cares about. ZR4, you need to shut up, ZR4, no one cares.
While the new one will average 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour. Again, these are both dual motor cars I've selected.
I need to look up one thing real quick here.
In efficiency, ABRP, looking at the numbers, doesn't seem to be accounting for the newer cars' faster charging speeds. So it might actually be even faster. So am I going to go out and buy a 24-mile-a-year Polestar 2? Well, no. First of all, there's the whole depreciation thing. The only reason I'd recommend you go out and buy a new Polestar is if you're a fiscal arsonist. But also, I casually left out some rather important information. In the U.S.,
Came out in 19. PlayStation's been around since. Wow, I'm older than PlayStation. I'm older than PlayStation by a few weeks. PlayStation just came out in December of '94. So after 32 years, we're getting rid of the PlayStation.
One thing I do not like about the battery in my Polestar is how useless the bottom end of the package. It starts reducing power at about 13% state of charge, and it'll go into turtle mode at as high as 8% state of charge. Below about 6% state of charge, it's reduced power by so much you cannot safely use the car on the highway anymore. Because of this, I consider 10% to be zero. The new battery doesn't do this. I was watching a Stuart Newman video where he was testing a new Polestar with the new battery pack, and he still had full power at 4%, and probably lower than that. So while on paper the new battery is only 4 kilowatt hours more capacity, it's effectively more like 10 kilowatt hours more capacity because you can actually use the bottom 10% of the pack. But again, U.S. dual motor cars don't get the new battery. You may have noticed I've been talking about efficiency, not range. Well, there's a reason for that. Why am I doing this? Pick a location and stay there. Here. Okay, given my slight battery degradation and the
So PlayStation 1's been around since '94. So after 32 years, they're going to get rid of it. It looks like I don't know if there's going to be a PS6, maybe a PS5. That's it. Yeah, you're right. So we'll see what happens. I can't do any paperwork right now because the cat's on the desk, which is surprising. What you doing?
Nearly an hour. And since I'm at most using 80%
Huh?
of the
What you doing?
capacity on trips, my rear wheel range on trips is more like 150 miles. Although I'm typically not comfortable pushing it past 140 miles between charges. Unless there's a headwind, in that case I'm finding a closer charge. Again, this is all dramatically improved with the new
What's up, baby?
motors and batteries, but that's not what I have. Polestar's option packages are simple. You have the Pilot Plus and Performance package, and on top of the Plus package, you can get the Napa leather seating package, which, by the way,
Mwah.
is the only way to get ventilated seats in a Polestar 2. When I ordered my car, the market was very different. Used prices were high, and inventory was a theoretical construct. So when I ordered my car, I could either have
Hey,
the
baby
exact
boy.
car I wanted and wait 6 months for it, or I could pick a suboptimally optioned car from the small
What do you want, my baby boy?
configured inventory and have it almost immediately. So which one do you think I picked? None of the cars in their inventory at the time had all 3 packages, so I had to pick one package to do it out. And the package I chose to omit was the Pilot Pack. The Pilot Pack includes all of these features, but obviously the headlining feature is Pilot Assist, which is Polestar's name for Adaptive Cruise and Auto Steer. So that's why my car doesn't have the Pilot Pack. This is simply because I'm impatient. But here's the thing about cars like mine without the Pilot package. They still have all of the hardware for Pilot Assist, including the buttons on the steering wheel. It's just turned off, and all you get is basic cruise control. And I guess 4 fidgety buttons to play with on the steering wheel.
Can I have a kiss?
Third-party diagnostic software I mentioned earlier, while it can do more than just read stats from the car, it can also change car configuration. So I used it to turn on Pilot Assist. I now have Pilot Assist. So how is Pilot Assist? Well, I lived with this car for about 70,000 miles with just basic cruise control. Finally, having adaptive cruise control is so nice. Previously, if I got stuck behind a car that was doing a little bit slower than me or varying their speed a little bit, I would get so annoyed. But now, I don't care. I can just sit behind them and let the car vary the speed for me. It's just the best thing ever. Like right now, I'm half distracted delivering lines to camera, and I'm stuck behind this Borrego. I don't care. It's so relaxing. 10 out of 10 would unlock again. The auto steer part, however, is...
You're such a sly kitty cat.
In fact, it's kind of bad. It's the kind of auto steer that tries to suck you down every off ramp, and it requires so much input torque on the wheel to know that you're there that you almost have to hang your hand on the side of the wheel. Otherwise, it'll yell at you and say, keep your hands on the wheel. Even if your hands are on the wheel. It's not great. And it does some really goofy things sometimes. For instance, the two systems for lane departure warning and the auto steer must be separate, because multiple times the auto steer portion has made me ride the yellow line on the side of the highway while the steering wheel is vibrating, telling me that I'm riding the yellow line on the side of the highway, even though it's doing that itself. It's kind of comical, but I would rather have it than not have it. So, also
You try to do silly baby, huh?
I also unlocked the Matrix LED headlights, which are disabled in all cars in the U.S.
My
So I
cutie
have those
cat.
now, too. Honestly, it's much more fun to watch them work than they are actually useful. But
Should I get on the bed so you stop doing that?
quick word about Orbit. I'm not recommending
Okay.
it. I'm just telling you that's by you. There's
Let's go to bed.
using third-party diagnostic software
Let's go to bed.
configuration and generally fiddle about with the car could void warranty.
Make it better?
or even
You go to
break
bed with
stuff.
you, huh?
Using it at my own risk, and again, I'm not recommending it. Again, jumping to a completely different topic, range estimates. I've told you before.
I'll
that
get in my
this
bed
car
if you
provides
want.
4
Let me go.
different range estimates. That's still true, but now the situation is even sillier. Polestar sent out a software update at some
There, is it
point
better?
last year that now allows you to choose which range estimate you want shown in the driver's display. On by default, and previously the only number you could see here, is the rated range, which is just the EPA rated range number multiplied by the battery state of charge percentage, which is totally meaningless. It's even more useless in the
Yeah.
European market because
There.
they use the WLTP cycle, which is overly optimistic and garbage.
Better?
Side note, WLTP numbers are meaningless. The WLTP cycle tests cars at room temperature with an average speed of 29 miles
My
per hour.
baby boy is so
Super
cute.
realistic. But now you can have the estimated range, which takes into account conditions and previous driving efficiency shown in the driver's display by going to Range Assistant, hitting the settings,
My
and then
boy's
selecting
amazing. Yeah.
dynamic range. And now the range number drops by 50 miles, which just shows you how useless the rated range number is. It might make you feel good, but don't rely on it because it's meaningless. Side note, I have a theory that the F-150 Lightning gets thrown under the bus for range far more often than a Rivian R1T does, despite having similar real-world ranges, because the Lightning shows a real-world estimated projected range, while the Rivian shows rated range, which doesn't change at all based on conditions. Of course, the reason Polestar, Rivian, Tesla, and so many others show you rated range is because it makes for good publicity. I've seen so many automotive journalists sit behind the wheel and just take the range number it presents to you at face value and will confidently say to camera, on a full charge, it'll go 240 miles. Well, no, it won't, but it'll say it does. In last year's update, I told you that although I love my Polestar 2 and I had no intention of getting rid of it anytime soon, the Model 3 is probably the logical choice to go with. Well, now I'm not so sure about that anymore. For sure, if you're going to buy a new car, then yeah, the Model 3 is still the logical choice. A Model 3 is $5,000 cheaper than an equivalently spec Polestar as of this recording. And if you add on the
I wanna have
performance
sex.
pack of the Polestar, it becomes infinitely more expensive, because the Model 3 performance currently doesn't exist. But in the used market, get whatever you want. Polestars get access to not all, but most Tesla superchargers, I think, at the end of June. So that playing field is level. They've already got the adapter. I'm ready. Teslas has better software, faster charging, much
You all right,
higher
big
efficiency,
boys?
but the Polestar is a
You
much
big
nicer
boy?
place to be. It drives better. It handles better. Obviously subjective opinion. And because
What do we
this
got
was
here?
built in China while the Model 3 was built in the US, naturally, this has much higher build quality. That one's for you, easily triggered Americans. But anyway, just get the car you want. The used market for both Teslas and Polestars has absolutely crashed, which is great if you're looking for a used car. Terrible for people like me that bought it too, but great if you're looking for a used car. Did I do a car buying advice? Did you get any value out of this video? Yeah, no, this video is all over the place. Anyway, I love my Polestar and I have no plans of getting rid of it anytime soon. And I'm not just saying that because I owe twice what it's worth. I'm never buying a new car again. This has been an awful experience. Buying weird crap that no one wants has been a great investment so far. Much
My
more
baby
solid than
boy,
buying a
so
new car.
cute.
Thanks for watching.
I might get off early and
What I have today, just that therapy appointment for inner child work at 11. It's stupid. I hate it.
I'll do that.
I can't play the game with my friend. So, yeah. Smart.
The new Italian Trio Protein Pocket for supper with pepperoni, salami, ham, provolone, lettuce, tomato, and garlic ale with 23 grams of protein. The price is a shot, so prepare yourself, okay?
on for a